Rapper, actor, poet, criminal. Tupac Shakur held a multitude of labels before his early death in September 1996. But what about ballet dancer or Shakespearean actor? There's a lot about the hip-hop artist's difficult past you probably don't know. Follow us on a deep dive into Tupac's story of how he went from penniless to platinum. And make sure to stick around till the end when we uncover Tupac's top 3 secrets to success that you can use to change your own life today. This is the true rags to riches story of Tupac Shakur. Tupac's controversial and influential career lasted just 5 years, but the world of rap music and the music industry at large still feels his impact 2.5 decades after his untimely death. To date, Tupac has sold more than 75 million records internationally and has 11 platinum albums, 7 of which went platinum after his death. In 1996 alone, Tupac sold $60 million worth of albums, and his estate was valued at $40 million. Like many rappers and entertainers, Tupac loved luxury cars. He rapped about them, rode in them, and didn't mind spending his money to own them. His favourite of all was his Rolls-Royce Corniche 4. An emerald green 1995 Jaguar XJS was another gem of Tupac's fleet, and it was one of the few cars that he owned outright in his own name. Just months before he met his end, Tupac's car collection added an SUV that was considered so aggressive it personified the rapper's frequently frenzied behaviour. His customised 1996 Hummer H1 had a lot of off-road lights, a 360-degree spotlight, and an external PA system with 3 sirens. In one of Tupac's most famous music videos, To Live and Die in LA, we see him cruising down the highway in the City of Angels, behind the wheel of a lemon yellow 1961 Chevy Impala. The product placement from the video helped enhance the Chevrolet brand for years to come. One of his daily drivers was an ivory Range Rover, which one of his friends borrowed and subsequently totaled. His infamous 1996 BMW 750 Li was listed for sale at $1.5 million, but Tupac's finances were a mess at the time of his death. Within weeks of his death, a lawyer would discover that Tupac had very little to show for his enormous success. He owned no real estate, had no retirement accounts, no stocks. What he did have was a mountain of debt. That debt stemmed both from the rapper's lavish lifestyle and a handwritten contract Tupac signed while in prison in 1995. The contract essentially stated Shakur would produce 3 albums for Death Row in exchange for being bailed out of prison. He used that money to buy multiple cars, a house for his mother, and leases on 3 other residences, including his opulent 6,000 square foot Woodland Hills mansion, which recently went on the market for $2.6 million. His spending also included $300,000 at the Peninsula Hotel and 6 figures on furniture, jewelry, security, and limo service. His primary assets were a 5-figure life insurance policy, 2 cars, and a single checking account that contained $105,000. Court fees, taxes, and unpaid debts to his record company soon consumed everything he had. The only item of value left was his Mercedes-Benz SL 500, which went to his mother. Over the next several decades, Tupac's estate would earn tens of millions off the posthumous release of Tupac's albums, merchandise sales, and various other forms of image licensing. Part of Tupac's enduring appeal are his authentic and unapologetic lyrics that reflected the hard lives many people, especially people of color, led. His poetic style, contrasted with hard street slang, was innovative and raw, and born out of Tupac's own experiences. Tupac Shakur was born on June 16, 1971 in Harlem, New York. His mother was the daughter of a maid and a high school dropout. A member of the Black Panther Party, She became pregnant with Tupac while on bail after being charged with conspiring to set off a race war, though she was later acquitted of all 150 charges. His mother did her best to raise Tupac, his stepbrother and half-sister on her own, but the family struggled for money. They were forced to move often, sometimes staying in shelters. In 1984, they moved to Baltimore, where Tupac enrolled at the prestigious Baltimore School for the Arts, where he would begin nurturing the sensitive lyricism and poetry of his lyrics. There, he studied acting,
You talking to me?
jazz, and ballet, and even performed in Shakespeare's plays and The Nutcracker. But the neighborhood where the Shakurs lived was a dangerous one, and Tupac's family moved once again before he could graduate high school. This time, they relocated all the way across the country to Marin City, an impoverished community in the San Francisco Bay Area. Unfortunately, the crime they'd hoped to escape found them even in California. There, Tupac took to the streets, becoming involved in the gang culture that would one day provide material for his rap lyrics. And it was in Marin City that Tupac's mother succumbed to a devastating crack addiction, a drug her son sold on the same streets where his mother bought her supply. At 17, in the spring of 1989, he met Layla Steinberg, a poet who would become his mentor and later his manager. She was able to look past Tupac's circumstances to see his talent and potential, and as a result, she set up a meeting with music manager and entrepreneur Atron Gregory. All those years studying poetry, theatre, and music in school were about to pay off. Tupac got his first break when he became a roadie and backup dancer for the hip-hop group Digital Underground in 1990. Destined for the spotlight and hungry to express himself, he soon stepped up to the mic. His first music credit came on a soundtrack single for the 1991 Chevy Chase-led film Nothing But Trouble. In November 1991, he released his debut solo album, Tupacalypse Now. The certified gold album established him as an important voice in rap and propelled him to stardom. Even as he climbed the charts, Tupac never forgot where he came from. He made it a point to not just raise awareness about racial, economic, and social injustices in his music, but also to raise tempers. We shouldn't be angry, and my raps that I'm rapping to my community shouldn't be filled with rage, he said. They shouldn't be filled with the same atrocities that they gave to me. In the media, they don't talk about it. So in my raps, I have to talk about it. But he also had a softer side too. Everything in life is not all beautiful, he told journalist Chuck Phillips. There is lots of killing and drugs. To me, a perfect album talks about the hard stuff and the fun and caring stuff. The thing that bothers me is that it seems like a lot of the sensitive stuff I write just goes unnoticed. Tupac wasn't just a great rapper, but a complete crossover artist. He could act, he wrote poetry, and he had some serious dance moves. His acting career was short, but he definitely made an impression there too, with his breakthrough role as a troubled high school teen who fashions himself into a cold-hearted killer in the 1992 action movie Juice. The following year, he would also star opposite Janet Jackson in the hit romantic drama Poetic Justice. As his career progressed, so did his iconic style, which reflected the twists and turns of his personal life and work. The streetwear, bandana, and backward baseball caps reflected the stories recounted in his earlier music. The golden suits and Versace shirts were hallmarks of his success and newfound access into the more affluent worlds. But whether he was decked out in a full suit or performing shirtless with pants sagging, Tupac always exuded a confidence and keen awareness of the power of his own image. After his second album went platinum, Tupac became involved in the East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry, particularly with Notorious B.I.G. The tensions culminated in 1994. Tupac was shot 5 times, but survived. Then, in 1995, he had another brush with crime. He was convicted of sexual assault charges. While serving time, his third album, Me Against the World, became the first #1 album released by an artist during a prison stint. It went on to sell over 3 million copies. But critical success seemed to elude him. He was nominated for 7 Grammys, but won none. Despite his setbacks, it seemed like Tupac was unstoppable, working on new material at a breakneck pace and setting trends in the genre while doing it. All Eyes on Me, released just a year later, would be the biggest release of his career, selling over 10 million copies to date. It was also the last before his death. Leading up to its release, Tupac became embroiled in a rap conflict over opposing diss tracks, a conflict that might have spilled from the studio onto the streets. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac was shot 4 times while stopped at a red light by an unknown shooter. He died 6 days later.
Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business. He was 25.
I like rappers who are gonna say what they have to say.
Tupac made a difference in hip-hop, regardless how you go about it. He was strong, he had his positive moments, he had songs that touched people.
One thing's for sure, more than 2 decades later, his legacy still lives on. Though Tupac was only 25 when he died, he left a more profound impact on the world than most people will by the time they're 75. Even if you're not a rapper or entertainer, there are still some important and unique lessons you can learn from Tupac that'll help you reach new levels of success. First, go the extra mile. Tupac was a hard worker. When he crafted his albums, he didn't just write the 15 or so songs required. He recorded more than 30 options. He then selected the best ones for inclusion in the album. This is not only a sign of a hard worker, but someone who wants to be exceptional. Instead of doing the minimum amount of work, he went way above and beyond. He wrote, "Tomorrow I wake with second wind and strong because of pride. I know I fought with all my heart to keep the dream alive." His approach to his art helped establish his career while he was alive and ensured that he would be remembered and his albums would stay relevant after his death. Second, evolve or die. Part of Tupac's enduring appeal is that he wasn't afraid to try new things. He sang, he acted, he danced, he wrote. He didn't limit himself, but instead followed his talents wherever they led him. I want to grow. I want to be better. You grow. We all grow. We're made to grow. You either evolve or you disappear, he said. Only you can ensure that your legacy lives on. Third, use your resources. If you want to be successful, surround yourself with other successful people. Pick their brains, ask questions, research, tap into all your available resources. Even the genius asks questions, Tupac said. In this age of accessible information, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to excel intellectually and professionally, and to make all the connections you need to be successful. We hope you learned something from Tupac Shakur's journey from penniless to platinum. Remember, go the extra mile, continue to evolve, and use your resources. Do you agree or disagree that we got all of Tupac's life lessons right? Would you add others? And make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more Rags to Riches stories and personal lessons from your favorite celebrities and entrepreneurs. We put out new content frequently, so stay tuned for more inspiring stories you can apply to your own life. See you next time, Rags to Riches TV fans.